and I'm very excited about it. So watch the Twitter feeds and whatnot for that.
I will be watching that. It is now Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. There's probably another marquee guy or two out there. You got to give them credit, and obviously we can talk about the Nebraska parents and their players that were
the Michigan parents.
Yeah, Michigan. I mean, there's a bunch, but I got to give credit to the guys that spoke up. Those two in particular, because Trevor's number one, Justin's number two. Probably the biggest names in not only college football but college sports for them to come out. And the other thing is, Trevor doesn't need to play football to guarantee his NFL career. Neither does Justin. They're set.
Right.
And yet they want to compete and they want to play. And, again, nothing coming out of Ohio State with Ryan Day. And it would just be such a bummer to see these guys. Like, these are exciting college players. We're not going to get to see Justin Fields in Ohio State uniform after this year. We're not going to get to see Trevor Lawrence don the Clemson orange after this year.
Wait, he said yesterday. I'm going to jump in there because that is news.
No, don't do this.
Well, what did he say though? What did he say? I only go off of what he says. That's why I'm putting it out there.
Let me ask you something, RJ. Do you buy into the Jets? Trevor, listen, if I think I'm going to be drafted by New York, I'm coming back to school. Do you think there's any truth to that conspiracy?
Dude, let me put it another way. Eli Manning said, "Don't you dare draft me, Chargers. I won't go." Dude, I think what would happen is they would force a trade, right? The Jets would be made to understand we can get something for him. We can get a lot of other things for him. And you know what? Justin Fields is probably still there. Whether or not Justin Fields would force a trade is also wild and interesting because the Jets are a dumpster fire. And I think a lot of that would have to do with who's the head coach, right? We could talk about Joe Douglas all we want, which we should. That's the general manager. But Adam Gase is the person that everybody wants to see gone. If you're able to bring in Eric Bieniemy, right, or someone else that you absolutely love and adore, perhaps that's a different look for the Jets. Now, I am of the ilk that I want to see the Atlanta Falcons push, Matty Ice out there and then go get Justin Fields and Eric Bieniemy because Justin Fields is from the Atlanta area. Bieniemy is doing outstanding things with Patrick Mahomes. And the Falcons fans, like Arkansas fans, deserve a little bit of hope and, of fun, if nothing else, right? But to the point about, Trevor Lawrence, I think that dude loves being in college in a way that the rest of us don't really love being in college. And I think there's something to be said about the big man on campus, right? And understanding that you're never going to be a bigger deal than you are right now, especially in a place like Clemson, which has 17,000 residents. Think about that. 17,000? I got more than that living in my neighborhood, right? So I can only imagine what it's like for him to be that guy for them at Clemson. What can't you do? So I can totally see him just wanting to come back for another year and saying, let me just pick up my MBA while I'm here. Does that make sense?
No, that makes 100%. And you bring up a point that I often stress, RJ. I'm not far removed from school. 3 years ago, sometimes it seems like a lifetime ago. Sometimes it seems like yesterday. And what I always pointed out, this isn't just applicable to football players or basketball players, but some people just really enjoy school. Like everyone's always saying, you got to go to the NBA, you got to go to the NFL, you got to go to the majors. Some guys and gals too, they like being the big man or big gal on campus. It is fun when you walk around and people know who you are. Like it was fun for me senior year when I had a good core group of friends and a lot of people just from doing radio stuff, just from talking with different people. I enjoyed knowing a lot of people on campus, going out to bars or whatever. That's just fun. So I understand, dude, and you bring up the level that Trevor's experiencing at Clemson with just this small enrollment on that campus and just in that town itself. Not a single person doesn't recognize Trevor Lawrence when he walks in the grocery store. I don't know if he does online classes. I bet he probably does. But everyone knows who he is, and that might get on my nerves eventually, but there's just something cool about it, man. I enjoyed college, and I know a lot of athletes that have been to college enjoy it because you're recognizable and visible, man.
No, man, and that's where I'm at with Travis Etienne too, who chose to return. Like, people forget that man was draft eligible, and he decided he wanted to come back to Clemson. Now, I am of the mind that I want to see Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence go at it one more time. I just so want it. Also, shout out to Noah Gordon on the Super Chat. He asked, if Oklahoma State wins out, let alone wins a playoff game, 2020 will have officially killed me. Like, I mean, I'm there too, dog. Like, to that end, talk a little bit about the Big 12. Believe it or not, I'm the guy that's getting criticized because I don't have a lot to say about the Big 12. And I'm going, what do you want me to say except that Texas is underperforming once again? Oklahoma, I did not think was going to be elite this year in the first place. If they'd have caught 3 or 4 losses in a 12-game season, it would not have surprised me because they're so young. But are you at all buying into Kansas State being good or Oklahoma State being good? Because, Kansas State has that loss to Arkansas State, which I'm sure you heard a lot about.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, who do you actually think is going to win this conference, given what we know about it already?
So my aunt is a diehard Oklahoma State fan. Went to school in Stillwater. I've been to a few games. I personally love Stillwater. I don't know I know, obviously, I got your master's from OU, went to Tulsa, so you might hate it, but I personally love it. To me, I'm very curious to see what happens in Bedlam this year. My buddy was going to go, but obviously with COVID stuff, he's not going to make it down there. That is going to be a very interesting game. And Spencer Sanders, the dynamic of him going up against Spencer Rattler, 2 quarterbacks that can get after you, both throwing the football and running the football. I mean, the difference maker is going to be Chuba, right? We saw him against Iowa State break like 5 tackles and go to the house. This guy is one of the best running backs. You just mentioned Travis Etienne. I think he probably holds the title and is going to win the Doak Walker Award as the best running back in college football. Chuba's not far behind him, man. And Mike Gundy, they have a defense this year too, and they haven't necessarily had that in previous years. They've had maybe 1 or 2 defenses. You're like, oh, this Oklahoma State defense is pretty good. Well, this is one of those defenses in 2020. Skylar, what am I saying? Spencer Rattler, I almost said Skylar Thompson. I was talking about, I don't believe in K-State, RJ, because Thompson's out for the year.
Right.
I'll just leave it there.
Mm-hmm.
But with Spencer Rattler, he's thrown a lot of interceptions this year where you're just like, I guess this is just because he's technically a redshirt freshman and he's still kind of learning Lincoln system and stuff. I'm curious if Oklahoma State can force him into mistakes in Norman and get that victory, because I think they're going to trip up along the way. I don't know who, but Oklahoma is still going to have a chance to win the Big 12, in my opinion, because I think Oklahoma State is going to trip up along the way, and I think that game is going to be pressure-packed. Is it weird to think that I still think Oklahoma is going to somehow find a way to win the Big 12 this year? I just can't believe in Kansas State because Skylar Thompson's out for the year, and I just got a weird feeling that Oklahoma State's not going to be able to get over her hurdle. I hope my aunt's not listening to this part of the show because she's going to be mad at me, dude.
Well, I hope she is because, I mean, if nothing else, sobering and objective conversation about these two, at least as objective as we can be, and as far as we take what's in front of us. If Oklahoma State was just destroying people, that would be something else entirely.